My responsibility is to do the vibe check. I need to say, will it fit to the overall what we're trying to achieve today and tomorrow? I trust the managers that work under me and the director to get the right people as far as their capabilities from a technical perspective. I trust myself to know how to make that fit from an overall perspective for the vibe of the overall team of what needs to happen.
Welcome to Salesforce Hiring Edge, the show for leaders who want to hire smarter and scale faster with Salesforce.
Whether you're building a team or bringing in a consulting partner, we're breaking down what actually works in the real world.
All right, let's get into it.
David Kestenberg is a former CIO, tech strategist, and startup founder who's led everything from M&A integrations to Salesforce transformations. He's built and scaled teams at Medical, Highmark Health, and multiple private equity-backed companies driving growth, cleaning up chaos, and turning vision into execution. He's also a 5-time Dreamforce speaker and a former IDF reconnaissance commander. I'm just going to say, I really love this guy. We've had a couple hours of conversations over the last few weeks. He's infinitely fascinating. He definitely has an edge. He's perfect guest for Salesforce Hiring Edge. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So David, you had shared with me and Mr. LaQuire here some information about how you have spearheaded enterprise Salesforce transformations across over 20 organizations. And look, I'll be honest with you and with the wider audience that while I am gifted and skilled at helping people to scale teams, I am not a CIO. I don't have to grow a team from 10 people to 200 people in 18 months or 2 years, but you've been in those kinds of situations. What is the number one thing that you are afraid of when you know you have to scale a team significantly?
Well, I would say two things. One, there's always the imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Am I the right man for the job? Am I the right fit? Can I build the right team around me? Can I build to be the leader of leaders? That's like the internal fear, imposter syndrome, which is like if you don't get up in the morning and say, I can do better tomorrow, you're living in the wrong body. In reality, the external fears is always the budget. Am I solving the right problems? Am I throwing money on the wall, increasing headcount? For what purpose? Because a lot of times, scaling is not necessarily going from 10 people to 100 people. It's not necessarily going to change anything. It's sometimes going from 10 to 50, but changing roles, ranking, communication, internal processes, and that's going to make the scale in the output.
So you had talked a little bit about how to hire for trajectory instead of just your immediate need, and maybe not hiring just to solve all of your immediate needs, but where you're going to be. How do you help other leaders, and how have you had to utilize your own intelligence and strategy to figure what that actually looks like? Because we all know you could hire 10 people, they could show up tomorrow, but how long is it actually going to be until they're highly effective?
Right. Well, creating the synergy, I think it's a different type of question, but just creating a team for trajectory. If I'm focusing on that, there are basically two elements here. Element one is usually I'm not hiring. There's a hiring manager. There's a manager in the middle. There's a scrum master. There's a director. Someone in the middle is actually hiring the individual that's going to do the work. So that individual that makes the decision needs to work with the right JDQ, with the right expectations and all of that. My responsibility is to do the vibe check. Whether it's interview 3 or interview 2 or interview 4, I need to say, will it fit to the overall what we're trying to achieve today and tomorrow? So to be able to do the vibe check, I have a lot of experience, seen a lot of people, and been in a lot of interviews. I trust the managers that work under me and the director to get the right people as far as their capabilities from a technical perspective. I trust myself to know how to make that fit from an overall perspective for the vibe of the overall team of what needs to happen. That's one side of the story. The second side of the story, during the vibe check, the main thing that I'm checking is where is the true north of the individual.
So you mean the North Star, correct?
The North Star, true north, individual north. Of that individual that come into the interview. Because some BAs wants to be PMs, and some PMs wants to be architects, and some architects wants to be testers. There are a lot of different. Our ecosystem is so beautiful. If people are going through the regular growth trajectory, trajectory of growth is like you be a BA, you be a senior BA, all the way to architect, or all the way into leadership. You usually know. You usually at your mid-20s, mid-30s, you already know. If you're just out of school 22, I'm not even asking that question. It's not the question of where you want to be in 10 years. It's more of who do you think you are? Are you going into leadership? Are you going into being a tech expert? Once they call it, we're doubling down on that, creating a career swim lane and personal development plan. You basically attach a buddy to be on a buddy program to help that individual to do the onboarding. You create a mentorship that will take that guy into the steps that they call. And that's the important piece of that. Because if you're committed to your own personal journey, but you expose me to it, I know that in a year or two, you're going to be a senior BA. You're going to be a lead dev. You're going to be a product owner. I'm not going to need to hire someone from the outside. You're already on track there. You're solving so many problems to the system just by saying, this is what I want to do. I will pay for the certs. I'm always comfortable paying for the certs just to get the guy go or the girl go on their journey. So when you're asking how to plan for trajectory, one is the accountability of the person, and two is the leadership in the middle that makes the hiring decision needs to buy into that.
I follow what you're saying. It sounds like there is in that vibe check, sort of a culture fit assessment you're doing, looking for a growth mentality, a learner mentality. If you were to put weights on different factors you evaluate in a candidate, how much weight would you put on the vibe check, the culture fit, the growth mentality, the desire to learn and integrate into the team today and tomorrow versus technical skill versus strategic plan and roadmap for the company or project or portfolio projects you're hiring that person in for?
That's a really good question, Josh. And think, it's really fascinating how to break down the ability to predict how people are going to behave in the future. But I think in my perspective, I ran large Salesforce teams, but I'm not an architect. Like, I can't ask the right question when an architect come in. Definitely not a MuleSoft guy or a Capado guy. I'm not going to be able to go toe to toe with them. So what I need to do is basically look at that as, a little bit of a military example, but like it's soft. Okay, a commander needs to know two pieces of things. You need to know how the sniper rifle operates, and it needs to know the soul of the sniper. So when you look at the sniper rifle, it's the tech stack. Is he a health cloud? Is he velocity? Is he Capado? Is he MuleSoft? Is he a Slack dude? Is he an integration guy? Is he a Tosca testing? Whatever they are. That's that caliber range. That
Sure.
the soul of the sniper. That's the fascinating thing, because the sniper is like dev. They work alone. They sit at night with Red Bull and write code. A BA needs to have the team, needs to have the engagement, the interaction. Let's do the solutioning. Let's work on the commentation. Let's do this reflection sessions. Let's do all those things. So you can recognize at the individual if he's a technical BA that behaves as a sniper, or he is a basketball player. Is he a swimmer that underwater, don't talk with anyone, just get the results, write code, the best of the best? Or he's a soccer player. Without the other 10 guys around him, he cannot play. So when you're asking, like, how do you know? I'm like, not everybody that I look going to be the MC of our next town hall. Some of them will not even open the camera, but they still can be a critical piece of the orchestra. And as long as they understand that there's a greater good, there's a higher being of can contribute to society, to my team, to the company, and I accept that. I also tax them with some of my needs, not just cash, also recognition, feel good, validation, all those. Then we can jive. Then there's a game. But if there's a person that seems like don't want to speak that language, it seems too much in the whatever DEI space, too much in that he's not comfortable with, I'm like, okay, go work for Google. It's all good. That's always need for developers, So that's how I'm trying to kind of put it in frames and basically teach the officers under me, the directors, the managers, the team leads to look through, beyond the fact that there's a title, with a rank, with a job description. There's a human there.
I love that. The folks listening to this show, they may be listening right now and going like, yeah, I do need to scale. I need to add 20 people in the next 6 months. I'm working with a client right now. They need to add 5 people in the next 6 weeks. Okay, we can do that. But when we're talking like really large scale, like got to spin it up fast. What kind of structure do you provide to these directors beneath you? Seeing what's necessary, and more importantly, what advice would you have for the people listening to this program? Like, what are the 1, 2, or 3 takeaways that they should really be keeping top of mind when they're advising their managers and directors below them for making this happen? Because it's got to happen. What would you tell them?
Well, so I think this answer going to be a little bit less inspiring than snipers and swimmers. I think there are frameworks of work. Okay, so if we are an organization that is committed to agile, then you're building Scrum teams. It's very, very simple. Everyone in the Scrum team has a role. Are you a BA? Are you a dev? Are you a Scrum Master, PM, whatever, coach? So you're filling slots. So when you're thinking about, we had an amazing opportunity to build a product in Highmark, and we had to rapidly hire a lot of people. I don't know, 70 people over 3 months, some version of like insane during COVID, from all times in life during COVID to do that boost. So we made a huddle and we were like, okay, it's fine. We need 20 developers and 15 BAs and this and that, but we're not. We actually need to trust our leadership and say, okay, this is 6 Scrum teams. Each Scrum team has 2 leaders, 1 Scrum Master, 1 product owner. Great, let's get those 2 and let them build the other 4, the other 6.
So delegate.
Yes, you take the red accounts to yourself, ownership of the problems, and you delegate the green. Everything that is working, you push down, because everybody can do that. Everything that is a problem, you ask to be involved. You are present in the hard conversations as a leader. But we are talking about pre-problem. It's okay, we have 30 recs that we have to fill, and time to market is what you said, 6 weeks or 10 weeks on 20 people. You have to break it down to teams. You have to allow a middle leadership and junior leadership, team leaders, to be involved in the hiring process, not necessarily the job description or the end goal, the individual interviews, and saying, okay, you're going to be working with me. I have a certain style. Are you a good fit? No. Okay, you're going to work with Josh. Josh has a different style. Enjoy him. It's not necessarily that the individual that is going through an interview going to get a yes or a no based on the first or second interaction with the company. So you need to have that versatile thing. Now, the main thing with scaling is that magic spreadsheet. It's the holy grail. Everybody needs to, because you're doing second interview and third interview and technical interview and then super technical interview and all those things, you need to have the holy grail of one centralized location that you have the summaries of all the interviews, the feedback from the people, and then if it's going to the next one, they need to keep update the same place. So I usually had one of the quarterbacks of those sessions updating that and making sure that this is happening, because it was critical. That was I would say that was number one advice.
Yeah, it's intense stuff. Have you utilized like a scorecard or segmented out who's going to cover what? I think I saw in some of our conversation notes around having, look, these people are checking for vibe or culture. These people are checking for technical competency. But let's say you've got Jim over here and Sally over there. They decide the vibe check's not good for Jim's team, could be good for Sally's team. But how do they convey beyond just their own personal perspective?
Well, so Josh, let's start with the simplest thing.
Are you using a scorecard or something like that?
Yes, we do use the 9 box and we use the scorecards and that, but that's not for the interview. That's later on in the 3, 6, and 9 months checkups on the quality of the individual. In the interview, to be very, very honest, vibe check is interview 3. You need to first pass the barriers of what is expected from the job, and after that we'll determine what kind of personality you have. If you're not passing the minimum barrier of, you can do MuleSoft integration, or you can do heavy workflows on velocity or whatever it is, then it doesn't matter that you're cool. The fact that you can work on cars or ride boats or be an amazing chef or play different music instruments that none of us ever seen.
Stop
That's a
talking
dream.
about me, David. Stop talking
Yes,
about me.
exactly. So I would say that yes, there is a method. You start with the technical and the hiring managers. If it's the same person, great. And if not, then you start with the technical and then it's going to the hiring manager. Okay.
Let me ask you this. You've said in the past that culture is reinforced through systems and rituals.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
So my two favorite rituals are the Friday call, which is an organization level call. So it's if I have 2-3 directors under me or 2-3 managers under me and I'm the director, it's the entire org that is working for me. So it's a hands-on, that is not a town hall, that has a certain cadence within that Friday meeting that includes, acknowledgement and a guest speaker and some music and some cultural, a lot of different things in that Friday call. But it's basically a hands-on. That number one highlight is the SA, situation awareness. It's telling the truth in front of everybody about what's going on. If we are on the mountain or to the mountain, whether we are at the end of the sprint or beginning of the sprint, close to deployment or far from deployment, saying everything that needs to happen, saying what they need to hear, and allowing a lot of feedback to come and be an open conversation. When I'm saying acknowledgement, is not some manager pointing some dude that did a deployment. That's not acknowledgement. That's just badges. Acknowledgement is a team member recognizing a different team member on action that they did. It's like who find the berries, show me a small success that happened, but someone else did. Don't do I did great. Don't do like some manager pointing some dude. That you create collaboration between the different teams. So a ritual is every Friday call, start with the MVP picking the song that we're going to put on before, the first 2.5 minutes of the meeting is like everybody joining because there's 50 people. So there's songs. So some dude pick Metallica and some dude pick some Indian music and some dude pick some Israeli music as the only Israeli on the call. And they're already exposed and becoming themselves. Then we move into the acknowledgement. They already start recognizing and high-fiving each other. They're creating the right vibe and the right conversation. Then you move into other pieces of that. Then the situation awareness, obviously housekeeping at the end, and that. So that Friday ritual is great because things are flushing out in that Friday. Then Monday morning, I sit with my leaders and we say, okay, here's the 3 objectives that we need to do for the week. Those are what important to me. Do we understand each other? Do you see things the way that I see them? Do you understand the priorities? Do you understand the how and the why?
Interesting. So it sounds like, David, you've got an opening and a closing almost to a week, right? Yeah, like you've got your opening rituals on Monday, your closing rituals on Friday. Friday is celebrating success. Monday is, all right, let's get focused.
And it's a lot more than that because Friday you go to that team meeting, but Thursday you're doing the dashboards. You're doing the dashboards because there's also going to be an exec meeting on Friday, not just a team meeting on Friday. So there's it's moving in a certain way, but like I want to put the spotlight on like full team, not town hall, not something that everybody needs to dress up, something that everybody's coming with their line, something that everybody's happy and smiling to see each other, that type of meeting. And then Monday, it's a lot more brief. It could be a call, it could be an email. It could be, guys, very clear, regular week, 3 objectives. All right, kill it. Let me know. Control your sector. If you have problems, let me know. I'm here. That's it. It could be 5 minutes on Monday, but it's important to invest the time on Friday with the team. Let them go to the weekend feeling appreciated, but for real, by their teammates, not by some dude, some suit, like by the teammate feeling seen is really, really important to want to come back on Monday.
The theme of collaboration here is phenomenal. I share an opinion here with you that I'm sure you have, that when you foster that level of recognition among teammates, that positive reinforcement loop just compounds and compounds and compounds. It brings people closer together. It helps to achieve results very effectively. What are some other ways to foster that kind of collaboration day to day, not just on Fridays with recognizing a team member?
I think that it's very important to bring yourself and your whole self into the story. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes people are more, not everybody is extroverts, introverts. That like I don't want to talk about my dad, my kids, my dad. Some people are very comfortable doing that. Everybody has something that they really like to talk about, and once you make them feel comfortable, they will. And it can be, we just had Passover a week ago, talk about freedom from a Jewish perspective. It can be a part of a meeting because it's inspiring. And then, because IT is super diverse, you get to have all, the Indian culture coming in with Diwali and with cricket, and obviously people that actually understand soccer, not like Americans. And so if there was a game yesterday, there's not a problem to open a meeting with top of mind. Have you seen Barca yesterday? Yes, no. Was it cool? Move on. And when you bring yourself, and you lower the walls. We're already connected on something. I know that he's a car guy because he keep wearing all those brands. Great. Now we have something to judge on as people and not as bricks. Like, yeah, I'm BA on this project, and this is all the things that you will hear from me. Otherwise, I'm a bot. So humanizing the individual, opening the door, and it's dangerous. I have to say, HR don't like it. They are not
Sometimes people bring a little too much through the door.
Well, yes, I'm not, we need to have boundaries in the way that we do that. But, when I started those Friday calls and then COVID hits, we had to talk about difficult things. People were afraid. People had, both financial crisis and health crisis and isolation. Like now, everybody wants to work from home. But 5 years ago, definitely for people that were at that time 22, 24, that was it's big. Or people that got locked in the house, after working in the office for 15 years, opening the door to talk about those challenges. Yeah, you're gonna walking this HR line that they might say, "Hey, you can be a liability here," and I'm like, as long as it's all in positive note, it will increase productivity.
The thing that I keep hearing is accountability and zero ambiguity. Like those two things combined with vulnerability. I'd say those three things
Yes.
seem to be echoing through you. And I don't think I'm wrong
I
here.
agree.
I think this is what you're saying. So when we look at, Thursday, it's your dashboards, Friday, it's your big meeting, it's your big vibe meeting, right? And it's a hoorah. But at the end of the day, you can't have ambiguity in these situations. And it's really impossible to scale without trust. And I had the fortunate opportunity to spend a couple hours in the last month or so chatting with someone who reported directly to you. Very bright, very smart,
Are we
very
dropping
intelligent.
names, or I should
No,
guess?
we're not going to drop names on the show. Well, I'll
But we'll
say his
say he's a
name.
car guy.
He's a car/boat guy.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Axar, highly intelligent, very
Yes.
bright.
I like him a lot.
And it made so much sense to me when you and I talked. And then after already having spoken and spent some time with Axar, it's like, well, yeah, if you've got people like Axar on your team, of course you can feel confident in delegating, right? But you're the one who has to pick those lieutenants under you, those
Yes.
directors. What do you do? Like, aside from like the tech check and the vibe check, I get that because you and I think we're very similar personality profiles. You do a different profile system than I do, but I correlated it and we're practically the same. We're very different people with very different experiences, but we kind of approach the world, I think, similarly. We see the same information. We make decisions kind of based on the same things. When you personally have to build your team of lieutenants or your team of directors and managers under you, that's different than scaling 70 people in 3 months, right? I need 3 to 6 people and I need them very quickly, right? I'm just curious, what do you do first? You check your network, you call your favorite recruiter, you post an ad on LinkedIn.
No,
like,
only
what are
network.
the
Only
only?
network. Yeah,
Okay.
we are old enough to be able to say, for that intimate role that is reporting directly to me, I need to be one of 4, maximum 5 people. Then it's most likely people that I already know. It can be that they were managers before, and now I'm ready for them to be directors. So, when I moved from different places, people that were maybe a little bit lower moved up and now reporting directly to me. But it's usually within that clan, within that group of people that I know. But I want to touch on, well, two things. One, when you were talking about that vulnerability element and lack of ambiguity,
Right.
I disagree as strongly as I can about ambiguity. You can be extremely clear about your ambiguity, extremely clear. You can come to your team and say, here, guys, here's the situation. We don't know if the client going to do A or B, and we will not know in the next 27 days. We will need to operate without knowing that situation, and maybe it's going to be A, B, or C, but we will not know. And I need you to be agile and vigilant and all those amazing adjectives, but it's still ambiguity, but it's clear that it's that.
That's still zero ambiguity as far as I'm concerned. I mean, these guys are running 200 miles per hour around the track. They've got a plan A, plan B, plan C. Like, you've got a plan for alternatives. So that's fair enough. But I think when we're talking to our team members and we're trying to understand what's going on with them, the clients can be ambiguous, right? There's 10 other people over in that firm. They're all meeting. They're trying to come up with some ideas. They're waiting for information from us. Then it's a back and forth loop, and we're going to get it. But when we're talking to those managers under us, when we're talking to those directors,
our core value is not changing.
Yeah,
we will always do the best we can, the fastest we can, at the lowest budget that we can. They understand that.
But there's still zero ambiguity. It's like, don't feed me bullshit. Don't tell me you don't know. If it's something that you could find out, go find it out.
Yes.
Right? It's not like, don't find out just because you don't feel like finding it out. Go find it out.
You know what? Let's connect that to how I pick my people. So part of how I pick my people, that's the part one is that. Part two is I need to be able to tell them, that sounds like a you problem. Because that sounds like a you problem is like, I trust you, I believe in you, control your sector, solve it. And if you don't need it, if you cannot, raise a flare. I will be there before the flare is going down. But someone that cannot accept it sounds like a you problem and will freak out probably cannot be in the immediate circle. So there's a couple of filters like that. And in my head, I have, a color system. And obviously green is the account management and the vendor management, the money side, the budget of labor, budget of licenses, budget that. So there's the green guy, and he's going to do that. There's always in the 5-people team, there's always going to be that guy. And then there's going to be a dev guy. It doesn't need to be a VP of engineering. It needs to be someone that can take 0 to 1, that can drive the team into something that was not there yesterday, and now it's there. That guy. And then there needs to be someone that can speak with everybody, that can go to the product team, that can go to client side, and they can go to the dev and be kind to all of them, understand, speak all the languages, and be able to do that. The Minister of Foreign Affairs office. So when I'm sitting and I'm making my, my Israeli salad to my immediate team, and we're sitting and eating and talking, you can look around the table and you will see that they can all bond. But they are extremely different because they have the sectors. There's overlapping between the sectors. Obviously, the dev guy needs to be on the same page with the money guy, and the money guy needs to be on the same page with the guy that makes the promises, the solution guy. But they are very, very different. And for me, it's like there are 4 or 5 seats that we need to fill. And if we do that, under them, they will know how to build those lieutenants and below the lieutenants and that. They will know how to scale those teams because the machine has the logistic element, the core, the fighting force, and then the rest of the fluff that we need to have. So it's. I hope it makes sense. Does it?
I think, David, what I'm hearing is like you seem, I don't know if this is innate or you've developed this through experience working, kind of in the civilian sector, or if this came through some of your military training.
It's more of a CEO behavior than a lieutenant or I happen to be a major, but like it's more a CEO perspective. I need the CFO to deal with the money. You happen to be a manager that just deal with the 50 people budget.
This is great because, David, you're right. I think what it sounds like you're kind of leaning into is what kind of roles do I need? Who's the best fit for that role? And how can we, day by day, develop people in those roles and develop people to rely on each other, for their individual unique talents across the team?
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Salesforce Hiring Edge with David Kestenberg. And if you'd like to connect with David, you should. He's on LinkedIn, Kestenberg, Kesten, and it'll come right up. That's Berg, by the way. David, thank you so much for being on our program today.
Happy to be here.
And by the way, you're welcome back. In fact, I think you're coming back for another episode.
I hope so, if you'll have me.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on. Thanks so much, David. And Josh, great questions today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.